GT the Vibe Podcast coming at you another episode. We finna rock it out with my boy Ben Tatum. I like a lot of his stuff, like a lot of stuff that he has to say. Here they're kind of talking about Black history, talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and then some of the other greats. I'll name a few off my top of my list: Madam C.J. Walker, Thomas Sowell, Booker T. Washington, Henry Box Brown, George Washington Carver, just to name a few greats. They're going to talk about Black Wall Street and some of the things that happened in history, and then kind of how things are now. So I'll let them roll a little bit, and then we'll keep it rocking.
Funny to me, man, because like when you think about Booker T, and you think about people like Thomas Sowell, I don't understand why we don't prioritize men like that or uplift men like that, because Thomas Sowell will never have a statue, ever. So this is what kills me, and what makes me feel skeptical, because they have been hell bent on limiting and suppressing the voices of people that don't toe the line. So when I see how they've elevated Martin Luther King, almost every street in every city in America where all the crime happened for some reason is Martin Luther King Boulevard, right? But they make it a point that when Ben Carson decides that he's going to be a Republican, that they want to take his name off of school. Right. Thomas Sowell is the Antichrist.
I like the Ben Carson piece. They tried to take his name off of school. He wanted to be a Republican, ran for presidency in the Republican Party. Very smart, intelligent black man. But yeah, he's right. Because he identified with the conservative stuff, shunned by a lot of people, because they don't want that type of black man in America. They don't want a black man that can think for himself, that thinks differently, right? They want conformative black men that will conform to whatever the heck they want us to conform to. So whatever rap album they put out, they want you to conform to that. But a black man who's intelligent, right, well-spoken, well-mannered, and has conservative views is vilified in our current society, our current culture over here, because that's a dangerous piece. A smart, intelligent black man that thinks for himself is a danger to society, and I think society sees that. They understand that.
Makes me wonder that if they are willing to lift you up, you're probably on their side, right? You're probably on the side of the leftists. You're probably on the side of what they want to glorify in this country. Right. That's the thing here's another thing that I thought about too, that when it comes to Martin Luther King and stuff, why I've been like totally rethinking this. I heard that Rosa Parks' husband, I said this at an event and people looked at me like I had three heads. Rosa Parks' husband had a vehicle. Right. Why black people had their own bus system or company around that time when she sat on the bus? We had our own schools. We had, before that, in the 30s and, the 20s and 30s, we had Black Wall Street, Harlem. Black people were innovative, Madam C.J. Walker, and that was a little bit before that. Right. But she was still one of the richest women to ever live. She was the first female millionaire. Right. Yeah. We had George Washington Carver, early 1900s, who was one of the greatest inventors of all time. How in the world did we get from all of that success and we having our own stuff to now staging instances of unrest? It reminds me of Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And that's where I started being like, well, wait a minute. 20 years from now, they're going to say Black Lives Matter was an activist group that really helped curb the violence in the inner city against black people getting shot for no reason by cops. Yep.
I agree with that. If you don't agree with what the left is saying, what they're talking about, what they're speaking on, you're essentially a dangerous black man, essentially. Because what they like is for us to be told what to do. And so even when they were having the George Floyd riots, you'd have black cops try to talk to black people because we do have I do got buddies out there that are black, so they got my uniform on. I'm trying to talk to my boys, shaking hands, we dapping up, asking them what's going on. Then you have a white person come say, you can't talk to him, right? And so that's the problem, is that they want us to be told what to do, right? If you brainwash a culture of people into thinking that they can't think for themselves, then that's what happens. Then you can come up with any kind of socialist organization to make us seem like victims, and then they get paid. We're not getting paid. I'm a black person. I didn't get no money out of Black Lives Matter. Pretty sure most of the black people watching this didn't get any kind of money out of Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives didn't really matter. They were out there to turn a profit, and they were ran by some. I mean, there were some lesbians in the group, and so they weren't even ran by us. Black men weren't running it. And then you got lawyers, Ben Crump, who gets paid money on these cases, man. But he won't take up a case of somebody from little old Wichita, Kansas that may have actually experienced some type of racism. But, he'll take it up if it's big time, big money, right? There's money involved with racial issues. And so people are taking advantage. So y'all got to be careful who y'all following out here.
Absolutely right about that. And the reason why 20 years from now that will be the rhetoric is because these ideologues are the ones who are in control of curriculum in America, and so they control who the winners and the losers are of history. And you said so much, and there's a lot that I want to respond to, but you're absolutely right. When you look at black success and how blacks are trending from the end of slavery till the 1960s, in the way of entrepreneurship, in the way of family formation, in the way of education and literacy. And Thomas Sowell makes this point all the time about literacy. When you look at this kind of upward trajectory, even in the face of Jim Crow, it's interesting that one of the arguments for integration or integrated schools is that, white kids, they're getting the state-of-the-art schools and they're getting the good books and this and the other, and they make it look like these black schools, by comparison, were just in shambles, and they were like learning in shacks, when the reality is, when you look at these, because I've actually looked at these schools, many of them were just as well kept, if not more so, than some of the white schools in the South. And Manning Johnson, I don't know if you know who he is, but he makes the same exact point in his farewell address. And not only that, when you look at the Jim Crow laws that existed, a lot of these Jim Crow laws throughout the South were agreed upon by both black and white leaders, because they understood that if we are going to be successful as a people, we need to be able to compete, and we need to be able to work in the marketplace alongside people who are of our culture, especially in these tumultuous times. And they were right. They were right about that. We hate to admit that because it's not exactly PC to say otherwise.
Black Wall Street.
Had, in many instances, deadlines for a lot of these different regulations and pieces of policy, because they were being done at the local level. A lot of these Jim Crow laws were being repealed well before Martin Luther King even came onto the scene. But he gets all the glory, he gets all the praise and credit for having ended Jim Crow in one fell swoop with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which, by the way, was unconstitutional. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was unconstitutional.
Really?
Specifically, Titles II and Title VII. Think about it. I own a business, you own a business. You should have the right to hire and fire whom you please on the basis of whatever merit or demerit that you wish. That should be your right as a business owner. I share the same view. I should be able to serve whom I please and fire whom I please. The question or the problem wasn't so much bigotry as much as it was the fact that in these states, the state government was mandating where blacks can come in and what doors they can come in, whether they can sit in the balcony or what have you at a theater, which car they can sit in on the train. So the state was actually acting unconstitutionally. So Bob Woodson.
I love Bob.
So I'm going to touch base on that a little real quick. So I do agree that you should be able to serve or not serve or hire based on whatever merit that you have inside your business or your company. Making people hire. I mean, even now with the transgenderism, having to hire gender inclusive and all that jazz. So the government's in control of hiring, and basically you can't even fire people based on merit, because if the person's black, or if the person's gay, or the person's transgender, then they can use that against you, and then you'll have a lawsuit on your hands. So essentially you can't even run your business on your own to your success. Because for me, when I was working for Freddy's Frozen Custard, one thing I learned in the business is that you gotta keep business, right? It's not personal, it's not about color, it's about skills, right? Whatever skills that you have that you bring to the job, that's what the merit is. It's based on skills. So when you make people hire and fire, and you make them do things based on other things such as race, gender, that type of thing, then you kind of put a hold. You put a hold on the business, and it's hard for business to be able to actually run correctly. I heard a guy on the Jesse Lee Peterson show say he wants to get rid of whiteness. Don't get rid of white people, but get rid of whiteness. And that's essentially what is going on in current society, is that it's seen that whiteness is this negative connotation because of stuff that happened to our ancestors. It didn't happen to me, so I can't sit here and say I'm a victim of what happened to my ancestors, because I'm not a victim. I'm not of the victim mindset. I don't have a victim mentality. Never have, never will. I believe that I come from a single parent home. And I'm a black male in America, so I should have been all the statistics that I could have possibly been, but it turned out that I wasn't the statistics, because I didn't go through life saying I'm a victim of something. I went through life and said I want to achieve something. It's a different mindset. I went through life and said I want to achieve something. And so we glorify Martin Luther King for essentially being about getting rid of whites. He's getting rid of white people, and it's a socialist agenda. And so what I think happened to black people is we lost our economic collectivism, because it was like when you had Black Wall Street, and we had our own money, we had unity, we were loyal to each other, we helped build. Because when you look at other ethnicities that come over to America, the Asians are like the perfect group. Like they come over here and they handle business, they take care of family, they support each other, right? You get that from the Indians too, the Middle Easterns. The Middle Eastern people come over here and they handle business, send money back home, right? They own businesses. Guess who's buying from their businesses? We are, right? So you got these other minorities that came over after we were here. So we had an opportunity to really set ourselves apart, and from a business standpoint, and be able to be further ahead than we are now. But for the reasons of we wanted to be victims all the time, we didn't set goals and we weren't looking ahead. But also, you had greats that aren't spoken about that were looking ahead, and they had goals. They had things that they wanted to get done, right? So they pushed forward. And so after the integration happened, we mixed and mingled and mixed everything in. We lost our own collectivism, because now, like, when you have a black-owned business in your town, it's not really like black people don't even go support the black-owned business. When I was living in Kansas City, there's a catfish joint, black-owned business. I was in there eating their food because I'm like, I'm gonna support them. I'm gonna support these people because I understand what it's like to come up from the bottom like that, right? They're hustling, they're here taking care of business, but guess who's going in there eating the fish? It was white people going in there eating the fish. It wasn't black people going in there eating the fish. So we don't even support each other, yet we want handouts. We always want to ask for handouts. Somebody owes us something. Nobody owes us a damn thing. Like when you come and put your feet down on the earth, right? When you're born, you have the opportunity to either make something of yourself or you don't make something of yourself. You have the opportunity to either make good decisions or make bad decisions. That's up to you. But you have to make that decision, that determination yourself. And so you can't get in the mindset of I'm gonna blame white people, I'm gonna blame oppression or whatever, because at the end of the day, if you're gonna be a victim, you'll always be a victim. At some point, you got to take a stand for yourself, make a decision, and say this is where I'm going to go. I'm rocking with this. And so, I mean, being a black conservative is crazy. People think you're crazy because you're supposed to be a broke black liberal. That's what you're supposed to be. That's what that's the picture of a black person in America. Broke black liberal, literally. If you got any kind of money or any kind of sense, you are conservative. And so it's frowned upon. You get dudes like Ben Tatum that are conservative, and he'll vote for Trump. And people are like, well, you can't vote for Trump, he's racist and all yada yada yada. When black people have become more racist than anybody else, because we sitting over here talking about race and white people. I had to listen to a guy on a podcast literally talking about, oh, well, we need to get rid of whiteness because just whiteness is just evil. And I'm like, and Jesse Lee Peterson's like, how are you gonna get rid of whiteness and keep white people? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. And so you got these type of people out there with the liberal, weak mindset that are walking around like Black Lives Matter out here saying people just get shot, or if one black person gets shot and 20 white people get shot, 10 Mexicans get shot, we gonna glorify just the one person, right? A lot of people get shot and killed every single year. Every single year, a lot of people get shot and killed. There's a lot of teens dying in the streets every single year. No matter what color their skin is, because at the end of the day, when they get shot and killed, they bleed in the same color. And so instead of making everything about race and making everything racial all the time, why don't we actually talk and actually try to figure out how do we fix some of these issues with violence amongst our own people, right? And when you say that to a black person, like, well, black on black violence isn't a thing. I'm not talking about black. I'm talking about violence amongst our own people. I don't give a dang it's a white person living in your neighborhood, black person living in your neighborhood, Mexican person living in your neighborhood. The violence amongst them, right? The violence amongst them is the problem. And we're not fixing issues. We're just out here giving money to Black Lives Matter while they sit up there and have security in their mansions, right? They have security in their mansions. We ain't see a dime of that. I'm a black person. I ain't see a dime of that. Black Lives Matter didn't. So my life must not matter because they didn't give me a dime of what they was giving out. And so understand that you got to be careful, because even with Martin Luther King Jr. being glorified, you got to remember that what he stood for, right? Remember that there's other people that were out here doing stuff, that were out here taking care of business, that they may not get the glamour and the glory, but they were intricate in the movement. And us being able to get where we are today, to not have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and say we can do this, because you think about Black Wall Street was created by black people. We had our own banks, right? Businesses, right? We had it going on. For as long as we've been here in America, for us not to be further ahead than we are. I mean, the Asians have come over and literally pushed themselves ahead of us, because we want to sit back here and wait for somebody to give us a handout. And that's part of the problem. Huge part of the problem. Huge issue. And so, there's so much that's taught in schools, but they leave out so many names, like the names of George Washington Carver, Madam C.J. Walker, right? Booker T. Washington, Henry Box Brown. These are a lot of people, a lot of black individuals that don't get no kind of glory whenever Black History Month rolls around, right? We don't want to give glory to one person, but there's a lot of other people that were in the background that may not have marched down Washington. They may not have marched down the streets. They may have created something, may have been the first millionaire, things like that, right? And so they gave us the opportunity to see that those are things that we could be. Things that we could be. We had opportunities out here, and these people did that back right after slavery was done. These people were doing that, creating stuff, right? Just got the shackles pulled off, and now they out here creating stuff, right? But we don't want to glorify that. We don't want to glorify that as a culture, because if you glorify that, then that's proof that black people have the opportunity to be whatever they want to be. I got an uncle that's a doctor. He's a doctor. Black man, he's a doctor. I know a couple doctors that are black that go and get their hair cut by my pops. Doctors. These dudes are doctors. Political figures. Proof that we have the opportunity, just like anybody else, to be able to get to that level, if we want to get to that level. But then you got the people that live in the hood, got guns, posting videos online, doing the same stupid crap, right? Same thing, but they keep doing that over and over and over again, and nothing ever changes. The only thing that we can change is the trajectory that we can go. And so you can't have a victim mindset. If you got a victim mindset, you're always going to be a victim. You'll spend your whole life in a victim mindset, and you'll never be able to grow. You'll never be able to prosper. Because in order for you to be oppressed, you got to have an oppressor. So then you're always going to be pointing the fingers. It's just like all these other movements out here. You got feminists out here that think that men are their oppressors, they're victims of manhood. You got LGBTQ out here. It's another thing. So they think everybody who doesn't agree with them is oppressing them, when we're not even saying nothing. Most of the time, we don't even say nothing to these groups, but they put it in our face so much. We just sit back. We're just trying to live our life. Just your typical blue collar, middle class family trying to live your life. These people shove this stuff all in your face. Be wary of what people shove in your face, because the stuff that they shove in your face has an agenda behind it. And so, like I said, being a black conservative is crazy and frowned upon in America. Like, you can't be a black conservative. It's not cool. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound correct. Black liberal sounds better, right? Liberalism. And so what these guys are talking about is good, man. It's some good stuff. I mean, black history definitely we don't do justice to the stuff that black people, African Americans, were doing back then. And so if you didn't go get fire hydrants sprayed on you, which some of these people probably did. There's people that had to take bullets. There's people that got killed back then, right? There's people that got killed back then. And so you got to be careful of your mindset, wherever your mindset is. Stay properly motivated and understand that just because you are black or brown, we're actually dark brown. Black is my shirt, brown is my skin. But because we're darker brown, we're darker shade of brown, does not mean that we can't think differently than what we've been told to think for many, many years. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to be different. That's why I rock with Ben Tatum, though. That's why I rock with this guy. He has a lot of good stuff. I'll be coming up with some more stuff from him. Again, if you like our stuff, please like, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you can get a notification whenever we post some new stuff. We got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe. This is GT The Vibe Podcast. I'm out.